Hey, and welcome back to the Wicked Wild Podcast, a feral podcast for the uncivilized horror fans. And it's 2024, people. It's official. And we have chosen a movie to summarize all our expectations for this year. And we're going to review that today. But before we get into that, I want to introduce all of our hosts today. We do have the full bank in house. So we're going to start with John, our Detroit, Michigan representative. How's it going, John?
It's going. Welcome to 2024, y'all.
Exactly. It's a hot one. I think we all have high hopes that this year's going to be great. It's just
spicy.
Specifically, if you live in the greater United States area, you got big plans, high expectations for how 2024 is going to go.
Sure.
But as far as this year's concerned, John, what's your guess for the most historic headline we're going to see this year?
Eli Blake shakes hand of alien to represent Earth for the first time ever.
Don't joke about stuff like that. Well, don't joke about stuff like that.
Hey man, I'm helping you manifest this for you. I want this for you this year.
Don't you get my hopes up.
I think it's too late.
And then we got Jamie, our New York representative. How's it going, Jamie?
Okay.
So if 2024 was a horror character, who do you think it's going to be?
Oh God, I can't. 2024 with a horror character. Who do I think it's going to be? It's going to be Art the Clown. Good luck. Good luck to you all.
So I'll just say my piece now and just expect it to happen.
Yeah.
I do feel like this year does have sort of a morbid glee in tearing us all limb from limb, right? That's what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And on that cheery note, we'll move on to Jeff, one of our two Pittsburgh representatives for the day. How's it going, Jeff?
Good, the best Pittsburgh one.
That's right. The high end, the yin to the yang.
Right. What's going on?
Representative, how's it going?
Great.
Did you have a good Christmas?
Yeah, it's good. It was real good.
Did you get any time off between the two?
Yeah, I just went back to work today, and then I'll be off for a couple of days for the New Year. So
sweet, get some extra time off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I hate how everybody seems to be off but me.
Hi. Jamie gets literally 1 day off. So
not off.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Yeah, literally, some people on this podcast are desperately watching the ball drop and just hating it every moment of the way. Because that's a live event on. Is that on your station this year? I don't even know.
It's not this year, actually. It's been canceled.
Fantastic.
It's an amazing sign.
Yeah.
So, Jeff, what is your favorite or greatest New Year's party memory? Do you have any bangers back in the day?
Oh my gosh. There's a couple I can't really remember that well, so I don't know if that
those are always good signs, yeah.
That counts. I remember this one New Year's, I have to see if I can dig the photo up. Somehow my wife ended up riding a deer that was like a wicker deer in somebody's yard with lights on it. I don't remember the whole situation, but that's how you get bits and pieces sometimes. I just remember
you have photo evidence. You're not sure how you got it, but
so it was that was quite an incident. So.
We've been, you and I have been friends for I don't know what, almost 10 years at this point. Yeah. And this is the first time I'm hearing about this.
Yeah, well, she doesn't like to let it get out. So,
here you go, world.
Hey, she's in for a surprise.
Jeff's wife, the deer rider.
Yes, and it's not even it's like one of those wicker ones with lights on it, like the white wicker,
lawn ornaments.
Quite a situation.
That's pretty fantastic. Yeah, we'll need that photo evidence. Mm-hmm. People are going to want to see this. And then the other voice you heard is our other Pittsburgh representative, Eli. How's it going, Eli?
Oh, you know me, living the dream. Yeah, living this New Year dream.
So we teased it at the top when I was talking to John, but as you know all too well, all throughout 2023, you gave us all the different examples of all the ways our civilization was going to end, whether it's aliens or AI, new viruses that were thawing, whether it's jetpack creatures, cryptids, Bigfoot's out there on a tear right now. So, do you have any secret wishes, like any secret hopes in your heart of any surprise dark horse catastrophes that might come along in 2024 and annihilate humanity?
It's weird. This also not come out the first year. We're recording this a few days before. There's so much shit happening right now that that's not alien related. That's trying to sneak in here at the end of the year. That we're going to talk about the Wicked Whispers. I'm just
wait.
What the shit? And there is one. I don't want to spoil it just yet, but there's one, and I think it may be the time of the Mole King. That's all I'm going to say. Maybe the world goes out with the Mole King. That seems to be on the bingo playing card right now. That's all I'm going to say right now.
Okay.
Well, on that point, before we get into our movie review for the evening, we do want to give Eli a few minutes to share with you the news that is news, the real news, the things that you need to know to prepare properly in a little section we call the Wicked Whispers.
Like I was saying, 2023, if we thought it was going to go out with a whimper, I think we're literally sitting the year where it all ends. I used to think it would be one thing, right? Apparently we're in Jumanji hell because shit just keeps happening in the year. Let's talk about our first one. Just when we thought this year couldn't get any weirder, it's being reported by the various science communities that they're finding fucking holes in the Arctic, just perfectly circular holes that are very deep. They're still trying to determine how deep they are. They're still trying to figure out where these holes are coming from because they're fucking huge. Right now, the leading theory is the only thing they can think of is because it's emitting large amounts of methane gas that it's just pressure building up and blowing these holes, but they can't explain how they're a perfect circle. The second theory is UFOs. The last theory that some people are throwing is what if it's some type of subterranean creature or people coming to the surface? Could be the mole people. That's all I'm saying. They have heard all of you make shitty remarks to make fun of me. And now they're coming back for their vengeance.
It's about time.
Is it ironic that the mole people would be coming from fart holes in the Arctic? Is that
it's on brand? It's definitely on brand.
I mean,
but no, in all jokes aside, they're trying to figure out what these holes are. They're very confused, and the only thing they know is there's so much methane coming out of them. They're saying that if it doesn't stop, it's going to speed up the global warming calculations by 80%. So, still trying to figure out what the hell those are. That's not terrifying at all. I
think correct me if I'm wrong, because John just went through this at his own house, but when you're properly plumbing a large residential area, like let's say Santa Claus's workshop where elves all live and all that. When you run the plumbing, you have to vent in order for the plumbing to work properly. So those are probably just vent holes.
I will say this, which I do find,
especially if you're eating a high sugar diet, you're going to be gassy.
Well, all I want to say is what I do find interesting is they found 7 of these, right? So
only
either
7?
They're so far. Yeah, 7 huge fucking holes open up in the earth. And I will say though, if people that are into lore, 7 is a magical number, so I'm going with magic mole people.
Oh, so you work for Bungie now?
How dare you? How dare you? The second thing is, folks are reporting they spotted a dragon on the moon. There's a interactive map you can look at with one of the satellites that look at the moon. And people this week a lot of folks were watching it. Something fun to do, I guess. I don't know. They're big nerds. When many of them claimed they saw what looked like the shape of a dragon on the moon, and then when it refreshed, it was gone. So people are freaking out about that. There could be a moon dragon that's coming to get us. So, be prepared for that.
Can we just call that dragon Smaug, please? Just let's refer to that dragon as Smaug.
Sure. Also, so while this is going on, scientists reported they spoke to fucking whales this week in Alaska. They came up with a device using the various AI software that they were able to have a short conversation with whales. Mm-hmm. And the interesting part is that you're thinking, well, Eli, what's scary about talking with whales? What I found interesting was at the end of the article, the guy that the head researcher was like, yeah, we think we could probably use this to speak to aliens if we ever found them. Sweet. And I was like, what do you, that seems oddly specific. Like, not like, hey, we could talk to any other fucking animal on the planet. They're like, we talked to some whales, next some aliens.
He's a big fan of Star Trek Voyage Home. That's what that
is. Maybe. Also, NASA and many private contractors announced this week a big study, which they didn't really claim why, but a big study that they're going to be focusing on this year is, can humans procreate and have and in space, and can a gestation occur in space? Because they're saying we'll probably need to know sooner than later. So that's not terrifying, because I think they know the planet's fucked, and like at any moment we're gonna have to get on these weird dick-shaped rockets Elon Musk made and just shoot off into space and hope for the best.
We don't have to, Eli. That's a choice.
Yeah, exactly. And finally, from our friend Elon Musk, it's being reported this week, they have some robots that work in the Tesla factory down in Texas with some, basically they use it to carry, do certain things. Well, one attacked one of the workers. They haven't released a lot of information about what happened. All they know is this robot clenched onto this gentleman and would not let go, and drove his fingers into his arm. Apparently the man is, they were going to free him. He's in the hospital, and they said he should heal from this. But yeah, it's the start of fucking Skynet happening. So, hey, we're all fucked, everybody. We're fucked in the oceans because the whales are talking. We're fucked in the sky with the moon dragon. We're fucked with the holes in the ground. We're all fucked.
I mean, the good news for that guy is, I mean, if we're going to look for a silver lining, is, let's be honest, he's never going to work another day in his life.
Let me ask you,
he's getting that SpaceX money?
Well, let me ask you though, if would you want to be the first person, like, oh, I was the person that Skynet took the first shot at? Like, is that where you want your story to be? Because I feel like when Skynet finally takes over, because they didn't get you the first time, you're the first stop on their tour.
Man, small potatoes, man.
I know Jeff has been on record saying he's just going to bend over and just worship them as soon as they take over, right? But this guy was like, not today, robot man, and fought his way out of it.
I will not tell you where Sarah Connors is.
That's right. That is right. And all I can imagine is that Elon Musk is sitting somewhere for some reason just rubbing his nipples because this excites him more than it probably should. Just throwing that out there.
I'm assuming he's sitting with an army of attorneys right now.
I think he's just more excited about the event. He probably wrote the check. He's like, here's $50 million. I shit that in an afternoon.
Well, there you go.
Yeah,
man. A lot going on, Eli. A lot going on.
All these stories have been released in the last 3 days.
That's it.
The last 3 days, people. Okay. I at this rate, I almost include one other story, but I think it's still kind of development. But there is rumors that apparently this is the year that aliens will be identified. That there's many people in the government right now panicking because there's so many whistleblowers that they think they're going to have to admit it. Because things are going to start being leaked. So 2024 has come up as a big year. You're about to see version 2.0 of Eli, a version you've never seen before. Because I just don't know how much more my little heart can take.
Pass.
Nope, it's happening. Can't stop it. It's like one of them Poker Man evolutions. You know what I mean? Just can't stop it once it starts.
You're going to go full Vegeta? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, I'm going full Vegeta.
Oh, man. Good thing you're not Frieza.
I'm going to go full chicken Vegeta. You know what I mean?
Boom. Leave the dad jokes to me. Like, come on now.
I got to get more I can.
Well, on that point, we're going to jump into what could very well be the last movie review ever recorded on this planet before everything shuts down.
I mean, that's true.
I'm glad we're going out on this one. That's all I'll say.
Oh, I mean, we couldn't have picked a better.
Exactly. But before we do that, we are going to give our on-the-fly synopsis, where any one of our hosts is going to be tasked with giving a overall synopsis of the movie we watched this week. They don't know which one's going to get picked. I'm going to ask a question of one of them. And this week it's John, because if you remember in our Thanksgiving review, he was the synopsizer for that one. So he gets to be my questionnaire for this episode. And my question for you today, John, is here I'm going to list the most common New Year's resolutions that people make.
Okay. I like this. This is a good one.
You tell me which one needs to stop.
Needs to stop. We got to end this.
Yeah,
Never happening again. Got it.
Just stop making this resolution. All right. Number one, top of the list, to quit smoking.
I mean, who likes a quitter anyways?
Exactly. Number two, exercise more. Whatever that
quit smoking is above exercise more. I would have put, interesting. Yeah. Okay.
I would say in the next few years that'll change.
It's going to swap. Yeah, I thought it would have by right now, but yeah, okay, cool. I knew those would be.
Yeah, those are at the top. Number three, eat healthier. And number four, drink less. Which one of those has to stop?
Oh, I can't wait till Eli goes flying off a handle when we pick one and it's like,
I don't know if I can be tied to any of these. So I'm not too upset. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I don't know. The exercise more, that one is like, I mean, come on. Yeah. Like either you're going to do it or you don't. Exactly. The quit smoking thing, I get it. It's the clean slate. It's the break. It's still pretty. I'm going to go with the exercise. Got to go.
Exercise more. Stop making the resolution to exercise.
Yeah, just do it, baby.
Just take a walk. Just go for a walk.
That's it. One foot in front of another.
All right. Well, Jeff.
Yeah.
Oh, thank
you get
God.
to give us our synopsis for Rebel Moon Part 1. The Child of Fire. Is that
what?
Titling?
How many colons do we have in this?
I think it does say Child of Fire. So my synopsis for this movie would be some space Norwegian folk are farmers on a planet. A spaceship shows up, a whole bunch of nonsense happens, and then it's over.
The shorter than mine was going to be.
Oh man!
Wow.
I think you need to join Zack Snyder's writing team, Jeff.
I can't argue.
And help him break through this craziness.
I wish somebody would join his writing team. And my New Year's resolution is, when are we going to stop putting Charlie Hunnam in movies? That would be my resolution.
I don't know. He was probably one of the best things in this movie.
He was not. You were out of your mind. He was not. What was he, a space Irish Walesman? What was that accent he was trying to do? That was the worst thing I've ever heard in my life.
All I know is he needed to spit out whatever he was chewing on the whole time. It was very distracting.
Well, he had like metal, like teeth in, right?
He had a grill.
It's like they were slipping the whole time, and he was trying to do some weird accent that he's already British, right? Why don't everybody else in the movie?
No, I think he's Australian, isn't he?
Whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, everybody else in the movie is just speaking with their regular accent, and he decides to make one up, even though he already has an accent. Like,
he was British. Yeah.
Who made that choice?
I thought he was trying to do an Irish accent, but not very good.
It
sounded so bad. Like, it was so awful. Like, anyhow.
We're gonna jump right into it, because as you can tell, we got many that are chomping at the bit, and we're going to start with our own Mole King. Eli, I know this is your first watch because the thing just came out.
Yeah,
tell us about what were your expectations. How much did they outperform your expectation? And have you already ordered your tattoo?
I'll be honest, when it comes to Zack Snyder stuff, I go into every one of his new movies and new projects with the same thought that they've let him, like, when Zack Snyder is put in a tight bubble, that is when he shines. Like 300, The Watchmen, he wasn't allowed to do too much. He had to stay in the bubble. The movies look beautiful. They're great movies. His comic book runs, he's restricted to panels and pages and like certain ethos he has to follow. Some of my favorite modern Batman tales are Zack Snyder's. And then at some point he made that name for himself, and like they let him just do whatever he wants. And he has every one of his movies now, he has no control. He's just like wants to do all this stuff. So then it's like these weird jambles of just like nonsense, and like it gets frustrating with his shit because like there are things in there that you're like, man, that would be cool. Because like this just felt like you could tell like this was like he made this for Star Wars. Then Star Wars like, we don't want it. He's like, oh shit, how am I going to make this space odyssey? He's like, fuck it, I'll steal the plot of Dune, the plot of kind of Star Wars, and the plot of Warhammer, and some D&D one shots, and jam it into a space odyssey. It's a shame.
Don't forget the lead character, Dime Store Gamora.
That's true.
The exact same story.
That's true.
He was way worse.
That's why like he just stole. But like, and the sad thing is, was like there are parts of this movie that like the cinematography like looked great in some parts, but then other parts there were like these unpolished turds. There's like that one scene where they're landing on the planet, and it looked like they're flying in a giant metal piece of shit. But then like that, one of my favorite scenes of this year is that scene where she was the swordsman was fighting the Arachnes with the Aldi's brand lightsabers.
Yep.
Like, even though like there's like, but like that Arachnes was really cool looking, and that's not something you really see in films anymore. Like I really like it, that thing looked awesome. Like it, like, so some of it, like it's frustrating because like there's parts of this movie I'm like, man, this could kind of be cool. And like some of the characters were like kind of cool, but like we try to rush in a bunch of characters that we don't really know a lot about. And then they try to do this like whole self-sacrifice thing at the end, but like no one gives a shit because no one barely knows who that guy was or what he did. And like and like the soundtrack even sounded like it was from Dune. Like it was just, it's a Zack Snyder's, I'm going to do a billion things on this grand epic scale, and it's going to be a piece of shit. Like, and like, but you know what's the sad thing is like I'm gonna watch the second part because like I said that fight scene with the Arachnes, that my favorite scene in a film all year, maybe, because like that's not something you see.
Wow, you haven't seen many films.
Well, no, I mean just like Arachnes, like they don't put Arachnes in anything. Like
it was a cool character. The fight choreography in this was dog shit. Like it literally looked like you could tell that nobody took any training on learning how to fight because it was so bad. Like it was so.
Well, I think the problem is he did the same shit that he did in the DC movies, where it's this weird slow motion, close up, hyper fixated on nonsense, either explosions or whatever. Like this just looked, he filmed this exact same way he filmed like what parts of Justice League he did and Batman versus Superman, and like
he shoots digital.
Yeah, like it's fucking crazy. Like, and the problem with Zack Snyder is you have to have someone stand there going, nope, this is what you can do. Because if you let him, like, which they keep doing, which I can't for the life of me figure out why, they just go do it, and everything turns into shit. And they're all like, fuck it, give him more money and we'll let him do another movie.
Mm-hmm. Well, and to your point about the fight scene with the arachnid creature, you know who that was? It's one of your favorite actresses.
Who, the Arachnes?
Yeah.
No, who was that?
That was Jenna Malone,
Jenna Malone, yeah.
From The Ruins.
Oh my God.
Your favorite flip-flopper.
You know, wait, you know what, man?
I just watched Save tonight, like literally before this.
Wow.
So
I thought she looked familiar, but I didn't want to ruin it. I was just like, this was a cool scene. And like, even the look of that swordsman, like besides having a dollar store lightsabers, like look cool, and like the robotic arms, but we didn't go into that. Like we just kept introducing a bunch of characters that don't matter. And like one guy's a prince, and you're like, where the fuck that come from? And like this one guy's a general, a fucking what? Mm-hmm. Like it's just, I don't know. It's a shame because like there was like little gold nuggets in there that I was like, oh man, this could have been good if just one person could tell Zack Snyder no.
Dial him in. All right, John, what do you think?
I mean, it's hard to add onto the pile that Eli he just threw it all out there. I mean, pretty much Eli said everything that I was writing my notes. And the sad part is apparently I don't listen to anybody that talks to me on the show because I did not remember Zack Snyder did anything about this. I didn't even remember we were doing this movie. Probably because I was still in my 2023 schedule tab. And I'm like, oh, I guess we're on break. Totally didn't even realize we were recording today. But good thing somebody said something so I had time to watch the movie. Otherwise, I would have had a real Mole King moment of watching the wrong movie or not watch the movie. But regardless, this movie, it felt like he watched Magnificent Seven and Dune with like a huge bong that in a night, and is like, dude, I got this idea for a movie. It's going to be awesome. And predictably, it was not. What? It was bad. Yeah, I know it. I was feeling sadly this either may have made Sucker Punch better, and I hate that movie. A movie, the plot in that movie, at least it's like you don't know anything about the characters. In this movie, you know somehow less, but you're supposed to relate to them. It's very weird, very odd movie. And when I saw it was written by Zack Snyder, I'm like, I thought this was like some sort of YA novel that they were like adapting, but apparently this is all original.
Yep.
That I mean, but it's so original, it's entirely derivative to the point where it's like, yep, saw this scene in another movie. How many scenes from Star Wars can we jam in here? Let's add some weird tentacles. That was fucking weird.
I made that note for sure.
A lot of space perverts in this.
Yeah. the one thing that I was like, oh, that's cool, was literally the main character's name was Cora, and the only reason why that name is cool is because I have a new canine buddy. Her name is Cora, and that's it. That was like my highlight. That was it. But yeah, Zack Snyder, please never make another movie. Please don't.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
please.
That's
stop.
Your resolution for him.
I know it's already gonna not pass because according to the Netflix, it's like April such and such. This next one's gonna come out.
They're filming the third one right now. They're filming the third part right now. The second part's already in post.
This movie was so great that no one had seen it yet, and Netflix is like greenlit 3 of these bad boys. Anybody know the budget on this thing? Because I was just looking at this. I was like, the CG and the craziness all over the screen. They need to stop with the CG like background. Like that Saturn was the ugliest looking background, and the lighting is so bad in their CGI composites. I was like, I mean, honestly, this could probably be really good, be a good student film for people to learn how not to do stuff in pacing. And why do we have so many self-important monologues by these characters we don't even know or care about?
You want to know the budget for part 1?
Yeah, let's hear it.
90 million.
Actually, considering that's kind of impressive. Considering the cast was probably a good chunk of that. And then the CGI was punching above its weight on that, I would say.
Yeah, this was a green room shooting, kind of like Mandalorian or something like that. So your budget is in the digital and the, like you said, the cast. So
that's pretty impressive, actually. But regardless, it's still bad.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is the new model for filmmaking, which we're going to talk about in a minute. But.
Oh, yeah, we got to talk about that.
All right, Jeff, what did you think of Rebel Moon?
So I got my pros and cons list here, right? So the pros, if y'all are shocked, there's only a few on here. Right? I do agree with Eli. There was some really good cinematography in some scenes in the movie. What I did notice and I didn't care for is they tried to cover up a lot of the sci-fi original special effects with using a background blur. They did that way too much, and they would bring something to the foreground and all the characters would get fuzzy in the background. Like that's a trick that you use when you have bad CGI. But some of the set pieces were really good. Like when they were flying into or when they were riding the fake horses, whatever, to that city, the port city, which by the way was just like a regular city that they landed a spaceship at. Like that's not how port cities work at any rate. But there were some excellent shots, and I'll be like, when I first saw some of the shots, I thought they were going to do kind of a Norseman type thing where they, it was very much purposefully done that way, but then they crammed some other stuff in that didn't follow that same effect. So I was like, no, this was just a bad shot, like when him and her are sitting at the camp with the giant, like it was obviously just a background behind them, but I could forgive that if that was the style they were going for, but it was just, it wasn't. So there were some good shots. The costumes, I thought they weren't bad, generally speaking. It was definitely better than Rings of Power. I mean, a lot of other shows. Now for the cons, because that's all I have on the pros list. First off, the plot of the entire movie was, they tried to trick that guy when he comes down, right? So they're in this spaceship. They can see the whole planet. They have 600,000 acres of land plowed. And here they're going to be like, we don't have any food. was that? What was the point of that? Like, I don't understand it. Some of the acting was okay. Some of it was not great. And which, really kind of surprised me because there were some actors in here that have done other things that it was good at. So was it the director? Was it they're like, what am I doing with my life here? Is this the last time I'm going to make a movie? So I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't know what the whole situation, what it was. To your point, John, everything was an exposition. Every time you met a character, they literally just gave an exposition of what they were doing and why they were there. And because they'd spent zero time developing anybody, they just so happened to show up at every character each time that they had to do their specific skill. Every time they showed up, like what was it? The Prince, whatever his name was, aka Space Harry Potter, because he rode Buckby around there.
Nice. That's a good one.
And by the way, are Griffins aliens now? Is that what we're assuming?
Yeah,
apparently.
Like
that's 100% what that was.
That's why I said they crammed D&D. That's a D&D monster. Or a Griffin, there's a Griffin. Then there's that alien with the tentacles. That's a D&D monster.
Yeah, the mine. Whatever it is.
So they were just he was just cramming shit. He's like, well, I can't put Star Wars in here.
And that that guy, they show up and they're like, oh, this guy's in chains, and that guy's like, okay, well, do you want to gamble? Like, why would he even ask that? Like that's not something you would just put up. like nobody brought that up, and they're all just like, oh, okay. Like he's like, you guys want to gamble? Like, okay, all right.
Episode 1, man. Episode 1. They got a race. They got a bet.
This didn't have anything to do with Star Wars. I didn't see one Star Wars resemblance, unless you mean the prequels, which were dog shit. Also, that's the only thing I like. I didn't really see any resemblance to Star Wars in this.
The last fight scene, Anakin and Obi-Wan, pretty much.
And that lady's lightsabers were the stupidest thing I've ever seen. The whole handle, like her hands would get burnt off. Like,
well, she had robot hands.
It doesn't matter. She's cutting everything in half. Like, so the handle, if you gave me a sword and you're like, okay, these are powerful laser swords, but the handle lights up too, I'd say no, thank you. Like I would.
But she got robot hands, man.
I would pass.
And she got to go fight the spider lady.
And the ending was
perfect.
Let me get this straight. Like they have this ultimate destroyer spaceship they brought from the motherland or world or whatever it was, and it's controlled by one joystick on a little pod that hangs out the side of it. Like, is that what you're telling me?
Star Wars.
Why would you bring that thing into orbit whenever you've flown every place else with a shuttle? Like that just literally doesn't make any sense.
And they obviously don't need to get that close to shoot when there's one scene them shooting from fucking space.
Yeah, like we're blowing up the planet. Okay, and I have the second movie written already. They fly in and blow up the planet because that's what they've already done 3 other times. Like, and then they're meeting the rebels or whatever, and the guy's like, it's pointless for us to meet, but we're going to meet anyway. Like, I don't like that whole thing is stupid. I don't know. This movie was bad. There's no way to.
But we're going to make really 3 of them, Jeff.
Redeeming qualities. It just doesn't. The plot doesn't make any sense. I don't understand what so that lady's like the superhero or something, right? Like that. I don't like.
She's Scargiver, which they gave no not even if you want to keep that a mystery, but there was no setup for it. They just randomly started calling her Scargiver towards the last second half.
Well, yeah, because that guy's like, reason. Oh, you're Cora Scargiver or whatever, you know.
There's no setup, no mystery. Like, oh, why it was just like Scargiver. There was okay.
There's a weird scene where she's like by that girl, and then the dog brings a bird back, and we're like, okay, what's this bird doing? He just coughs it up.
She's the resurrected mythical queen or whatever. It doesn't make any. I mean, why don't you get this, Jeff? This is really straightforward.
But bad. Like, she's not even you know what I mean? She's supposed to be like this. Oh, I was stolen when I was young, aka Thanos picked me up, and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But then she's but she's bad because somehow she's as tough as Gamora, but never got any cybernetic augmentation. So I don't know. It doesn't make any
big difference. Gamora's green. She is not.
I guess. The guns were pretty cool. I mean, they were, you know what I mean? They weren't the worst thing. Apparently, I don't know if they were machine guns. They sounded like machine guns, but they look like laser rifles. So who knows? I don't know. Yeah, this. There was a whole lot of problems with this movie. So
fair enough. All right, Jamie, share your thoughts on
little thing is that the holidays, besides I don't like the holidays, are like the busiest time for me. So I watched this movie on like my last day of work before Christmas break. And like, as Eli and I were discussing before this, we don't really get much time off. So when I say Christmas break, I've had one day off. But the fact that I had one day off was amazing and a miracle. So a Friday night with friends and some alcohol, decided to watch this. And I could tell you that I don't remember a thing, but as people are talking about this all sounds very familiar. So I did spend most of my time talking throughout this movie and making fun of this movie and not remembering the plot line of this movie. But I will say that the mess of my notes consist of most things that people have just beat a dead horse over. And it's that now, I think most people know, but I'm not a big sci-fi fan that aren't horror sci-fi like Alien or Event Horizon or whatever. So other movies you guys are referencing like Dune or whatever, I've never seen. But I have seen every Star Wars major release of a Star Wars. And so every time I looked up at this screen, I was watching Star Wars. And it's whether it's lightsabers that people reference, whether it's the fucking cantina, which no one has referenced yet, whether it was Jar Jar's race. There was a race that looked just like fucking Jar Jar. Like every time I looked up, I was watching, but like anytime I actually focused on what was going on the screen and my haze of alcohol went away, it was something Star Wars related besides the mechanical Beetlejuice chairs, which we could talk about also. So everybody has said it. Anything I saw on screen was a ripoff to another movie. I assume movies I have not seen because I am not well versed in the sci-fi genre, but enough that I even got references of things I was seeing or just copy of things I was seeing. So even with that, nothing held my interest in this movie. Alcohol aside, nothing held my interest in this movie. And my notes on this movie include things like, why is that man's pants up to his nipples? The opening
oh
scene.
My God. You're talking about that old man, right?
Yeah, one of the bad guys that tries to rape the girls.
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
his
Right.
pants are literally pulled as high. Like, pants aren't made to go that high.
I thought you meant the old man that had the weird overalls where like they weren't to his crotch,
sure
but the
him
strap
too,
went
but
to
like-
his nipples. And you're like,
but there was like this big villain in like the kind of beginning who's like, and all I could see was how high his pants were. Like I could not understand what was going on there. So yeah, I mean, my other like literally this is how I went in and I was already like, for those that don't know me, I'm not a large person and I don't drink much. So it only takes like one drink for me to be already like, you know, kind of blitzed. So my first note of the whole thing is from the opening shot.
The spaceport where the
yep. And my quote, and I would like to give this shout out to my friend Ed, who just said, "It looks like a vagina. Write that down." So those are the kind of notes. Those are the notes I have from this movie. So
I'm telling you, space perverts. There's so many in this movie. Like,
it was rapey. It was.
Like,
I mean, there was.
Then there's the guy in the there's the rapist in the barn.
Yeah.
By the way, do they not know how the military works? Like they're like, "Oh, boss," calling that guy boss. I'm like, this is the military. Why are you calling that guy?
They're like a Western gang. You know what I mean? Like watching weird. An old Western, like one of these old Western like bank robbing gangs. Any
sense? Like
they're hiding in the barn. Like, why are you in the barn? You literally like clear these people out of these houses. We're taking this building, and then they fucking sleep in the barn. You're like, all right, cool.
This wasn't a Jamie movie. Duh.
Yeah.
I don't like literally my other quote is someone had to say, I don't remember, probably still Ed. I don't remember. Someone just said, "Look, Jamie, blood." Because it was the finally time I could pay attention because I just kept complaining about what was going on my screen. So I had a fun time because, you know, when you watch movie drinking with friends and you all kind of dislike it, it's a lot of fun. But
you make your own entertainment.
Yeah. Midway, I had to pause and make a friend explain it to us. You know, like.
The one person who was actually paying attention had to catch y'all up.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm in the same boat. I will say for me, this movie is fine for a modern of the kind of farmed direct to streaming, quote unquote, Netflix originals, Hulu originals, Prime originals. in that genre of movies that we're going to get a lot more of. I mean, I was literally watching the Fallout trailer on YouTube before we started recording. We've got that coming. Warhammer is coming to Prime as well. And that's what I meant earlier when I said these are the kind of movies that we just need to be prepped for. I mean, Disney has literally fired most of their actual screenwriters, and now they're running without showrunners on their shows, and bargain writers for all of their huge intellectual properties. Same thing Netflix is doing here. They bought Zack Snyder, and he can do whatever he wants, but we've bought a contract with him to do X. He's got to write 4 movies, 3 movies, whatever it is. And then we'll give him a certain set budget for each of those movies. They shot the first 2 together to save money. It's all an efficiency play. Netflix doesn't care. These are not Academy Award winning movies. They just want to have some sort of original platform, because without going into the rant, when Netflix started, they would buy distribution just like a movie theater was from the big studios. Well, then all the big studios decided we can make more money selling subscriptions direct to audiences instead of selling it to you, Netflix. So they've all got their own platforms now. And John mentioned this before we started recording. That's the world we live in now. So now you've got these Netflix and Hulu and all those that are in a quandary because they can't buy studio films. So they have to start making their own. They don't know the first thing about making movies, but they know these big name directors and these they're leveraging a property that a name goes with. And I can't blame them for that. It's business at this point, but it doesn't mean that we as an audience are going to get a high quality product. I'll put it that way.
Until we get the AI generated movies, Dave.
Yeah, exactly. But like I said, this movie for what it is fine. I had low expectations going in. I am not a Zack Snyder fanboy. I know that he has a community of people that will defend everything he puts out. The only Zack Snyder movie that I ever liked really was 300. And I thought his remake of Dawn of the Dead was surprisingly good. But again, to the point Eli made earlier, which I totally agree with, he had a known story that was already outlined, and he was just remaking it. And he is a music video director. We talked about this with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake.
Another one?
He's a visual guy. So his visuals are going to be very compelling. You see a Zack Snyder movie, you know it's a Zack Snyder movie. Nobody has to tell you because it looks like a Zack. It's going to have 3,000 layers of lens flare. It's going to have 12 different digital backgrounds going on at the same time. The costumes, to Jeff's point, are going to be fantastic. So he's got a visual signature that is very much his, and this plays right into that. He's got a very painterly aesthetic to the kind of movies he makes, which can be really compelling. I did watch the Watchmen movie, which I thought was beautiful. I just thought they took some licenses with the story that ruined it for me, at least. But his movies are generally beautiful. He's not a great writer, but I don't think they bought him as a writer. They bought him as a property. They bought a contract with Zack Snyder when he became available, because to Netflix, that's easy money. But this movie, it's going to do average. I don't know. I don't even know in the new metrics how a streaming platform measures return on investment for
according to Netflix, it's the #1 sci-fi movie of the weekend.
Okay.
How they figured that out, they did not tell you that.
Yeah. Anyway,
that's what they're saying.
The only sci-fi movie.
There's that too, but that's what they're saying. They're claiming.
But
I mean, you're right, Dave. Like it's forgivable in some portions. It once again, if you don't go in expecting too much, like I wasn't expecting original Star Wars, you know.
Right.
Like I said, this is like the new Star Wars shit. It's what it is, basically. You know?
And that is one of the notes I made, Jeff, is that I would defend this as being better than any of the Disney-made Star Wars movies.
Yeah, for sure. You're right. Because they're trash. Because they had an original property and flushed it down the toilet.
Yeah, they had a great universe that had that somebody had loved and cared for and kind of built, and then, like you said, they just made garbage with it. At least Snyder is trying to create a universe. Now, it's not I'm not going to give him, and I wrote it in my notes. How did I put it? I'll go to bat for a filmmaker trying to create a new story universe. I will do that all day. We've talked about that even within the horror genre. I will always defend somebody who wants to swing for the fences, like a Jordan Peele or something like that creates their own universe. I'll also be the first one to fully criticize when that new universe is just a reskin full of familiar tropes, which is what this is. I will defend your right to go try, but you better literally do something.
Is it even reskin?
No, no.
Times.
It's just name swapped.
But I did watch this with my son, and I asked him for feedback, and I thought what he told me I thought was accurate and hilarious at the same time. He said the only character I was really concerned with something happening to was the robot.
Which we haven't even discussed Anthony Hopkins instead of Alan Tudyk, which I would have preferred Alan Tudyk the whole time, but you know.
But I couldn't defend him. And he and I, and you made the point earlier, Eli, he and I both throughout the movie said, oh, that's Adeptus Mechanicus. Oh, that's the Imperial Guard.
Yeah,
I mean, they're 40K all over this.
Those guys were, that was 100%, because that's literally the Imperial Guard. Like, that's the Imperium of man. They show up and take your shit to fight another war. That's like how it is, you know.
And then the whole thing with the princess and like the princess that was promised, that's Dune. That is the Dune book. Like, that's like, it's like, I'm like, watch this, like, oh, okay. Like, and you could tell, like, which is like my issue with Zack Snyder is Zack Snyder has never written, if you honestly look, he's never really written anything original. He's always licensed within a universe. And like, if he is restricted within a story, like when it came to like 300 and even the Watchmen to a point, there were restrictions on certain things and they weren't bad. His comic books, they're not bad. But like with that Star Wars, who knows what that looked like in the Star Wars universe. But like, so then like when Star Wars was attached to, he's like, well, I have this story, I want to make it on my own. What's he gonna do? Make new stuff? No, like it almost was like before he was like, all right, I gotta redo this script for Netflix. I'm gonna watch and replace. Let me watch Dune. Oh, that's a cool storyline. Hey, my kid's been into this Warhammer shit. Let me watch some YouTube videos, all that. Oh my god. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. And then like you can tell like there's D&D aspects in there as well. Like you had the Mind Reavers. Like I said, you had Arachnes. I haven't seen an Arachnes in a movie since
ever.
The original. Well, no, this was an actual Arachnes. There's a difference between the two. If you're a nerd, but like I haven't seen one of those since, what was that? The 70s movie about them fighting the Jason and the Golden Fleece. I think it was
the Argonauts.
Jason the Argonauts. Like, it's like fucking crazy. And like, so he like just jammed all this shit together. And like, he was like trying to set up these like storylines about these characters we didn't know a lot about or gave a shit about.
There, like literally, there was one sentence for every character that showed up. Like it was like, okay, here's lady with swords, and it's like, I want to avenge kids or whatever. It's like, okay, and she fights with swords. That's all you know.
And they're like, look, she's got weird robot arms that are the same setup as those guns. No, forget about it. Forget about it. Don't look at it.
I didn't even know that she had robot hands until until the end when the guy's like, you have robot hands. Like that's literally.
There's like a 30-second scene where like the Iraqis like stabs her arm, but it's in like the gun gear, and she's like, and then like all of a sudden like the main kid like Stargiver, and they're like, I'm like, what? And they're like Stargiver. They kept calling it. I'm like, what the fuck is that? Where's that coming from? And they're like, blood axes aren't really winning.
What's blood axes is a stupid name for a sci-fi. like
those are orcs.
Like everything else, right? I was like, that's an orc. I was expecting like orcs to be there. Like literally everything else was fine. Like it filled into the universe. And then they're like, the blood axes. I'm like,
well, like
that's an orc clan.
Right. Well, like even to Jamie's point, right? If you look at the aliens in this,
I had a point.
Yes, there wasn't original fucking creature in this movie. No, you had Jar Jar Binks was the king, pretty much.
Sweet.
Which I agree. You had an Arachnes, which you pulled that right from like D&D or something. That's not
true. That molester guy in the bar, he was pretty original.
He looked just like a Uruk-hai or a goblin.
Yeah, he was. I forgot about that pervert too.
They look just like a Uruk-hai, right?
So are you saying that the Uruk-hai are all molested?
If you look in the lore how they are made, it would be hard to not argue. But like, it's just some human goblin loving, if you know what I mean. But so if you then you have like Mind Reavers from D&D. Like there was not like original alien in this motherfucker. So it's like there's nothing in this movie. Like it's literally just a bunch of shit that he took, jammed together. And like sometimes with Zack Snyder, it looks good. And like I said, there's little nuggets in here and there. You're like, oh man. And like I'll watch the second one because I'm gonna hope for like those cool moments. But I fully know this is gonna be horseshit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a weird thing. Like I still,
honestly, what struck me is odd even having aliens in this at all.
Mhm.
Why even bother? Like literally, everybody should have just been human people. Like there wouldn't have been like that would have made zero difference to the movie if there were regular people as opposed to these.
Well,
weird aliens.
Is that the Star Wars thing though? Like I think he's lazy when he didn't make a Star Wars movie. You know what I'm trying to say? Like
right, like because Star Wars is very like there's
it's all different races in it. So I think once he changed it to non-Star Wars, this is my again uneducated, but like he's too lazy to make everybody people. Even he's like I wrote all these things which are not original. He just copied them from other movies, but. But like they would have saved a ton of special effects and costume budgets, just not having, just don't have them in there because they don't
put the orcs in there.
Nobody knows who anybody is. Nobody knows any of these races or creatures or anything. They're like nobody knows. Like, and the thing is, like they didn't even really resemble Star Wars creatures. So it's like Star Wars people knew about them because there was a lore rich universe behind it. This is a completely new universe, so who cares? Like what like. It seemed weird. Like they just all the creatures just seemed out of place. They just seemed like they shouldn't even be in here. Like because they didn't even
like
they didn't interact with
Harry Potter.
Yeah, like Buckby was there, so that's all that matters. Like, and why'd that guy have painted on abs? The prince or whatever he is, like and that guy was from the movie 3.
They weren't painted on.
They were painted on.
He looked like the whole
run a little bit at the end.
The whole movie, he looked like he had one of those electrical stimulators. So it like so contracted. Like I was like, this guy's like about to have a seizure.
He has
so dehydrated.
Weeks. Leonidas, you know what I mean?
King Turok. And it's like, that's the other thing too. They literally drop one like, oh, he's a kid, he's a prince, and then they fucking never bring it up again.
Prince of what? Prince of who?
That's because they have 4 movies to flesh all that out.
Well, yeah, if you look at it, they released another trailer today. And if you look, you can tell it's going to be 3 hours of backstory. The third movie is not going to, like, I'm calling it now. The second movie is literally going to be
backstory.
Them preparing for the battle.
Wasn't the first one backstory? I'm confused.
There's no backstory, really.
Oh, like no
in the first one.
Yeah, but I thought it was just all talking and like exposition, I guess.
You are right and wrong in both counts, which is accurately describes this movie. But I'm calling it now. Second movie, it's literally going to be the first 5 minutes. And I'll be like, hey, the motherland side, fuck it, we're going to attack your farm planet anyways because that guy's not dead. And then the last 5 minutes, I'll be like, well, they're here. All 3 hours in between is like, all right, now I guess we have to show backstory for all these people. And you know what's going to be the best part is no one's going to give a fuck about 9 out of 10 of them. Because the only person anybody really cares about is Aldi's lightsaber girl. That's it. That's what anybody cares about. Because that was the only like cool character in the whole thing. Besides,
she wasn't even cool. She wasn't cool.
I thought she was cool.
She's not. Her lightsabers were dumb.
Well, I mean, her lightsabers
they weren't even lightsabers. They were like glowing. They were swords. That
they were glow sticks.
Just glowed for
when
some.
Jeff saw the handles glowing, he was out.
I was out. I'm like, look, that's where you hold it. Like that's not glow. Whoever made these effed up because
it was better than Dollar Store Gamora because you're supposed to make me believe, right,
that she could kill everybody.
Could kill everybody, and like she has this special gold gun, which also they never explain, and then they just fucking chuck it and you never see it again. But like she misses half the shots she takes. She couldn't fucking shoot shit.
She's like stormtrooper.
But like they set it up every time, like slow motion. I'm rolling the gun. My gold silvery. Look. Oh no, I missed. I got punched in the face. Oh,
well, yeah, that was really weird too. Because in the barn, she killed a bunch of people.
Yeah,
but then like the rest of the movie, she couldn't even do anything except get the shit beat out of her and not be phased.
And like you're gonna tell me that spider, the arachnus, was like trying to kill this kid, and she just stood there like, oh no. And then the farmer stepped in.
It's not her fight, guy. Come on.
Did you finish your
Oh, sorry, Dave. Sorry, we jumped.
I just didn't know. I was like, your thoughts on.
No, those were my overall thoughts. I mean, I had low expectations, and this met them. I'll put it that way. It was fine. I wasn't mad about it. I was on Christmas vacation. This is one of the rare opportunities where my son and I can watch a new sci-fi together. Now, unfortunately, we had just watched a really good one. So this was this one kind of suffered by comparison.
What else did you watch?
We had just watched Blade Runner 2049.
Oh, it's great.
Good.
So I would have watched that last. You should have went with known second. Go with the unknown first, right?
Well, that leads me to my first question, because this is something that was obvious and it's been talked about a lot by us and some of the articles I had read before I had watched the movie. Is obviously Star Wars is very much part of what's going on here, but understand this is like the oldest and one of the oldest stories of all time. Like, this is Jason and the Argonauts, Argonautia kind of level story plot theme. And my first question to y'all is like, what is your favorite version of this story? Like, and as examples, Star Wars is 100% the same kind of thing as this as far as a story theme. Seven Samurai, Magnificent Seven, Jason and the Argonauts, Yojimbo, Fellowship of the Ring, Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, what's your favorite version of this ragtag team up against an overwhelmingly powerful adversary to save those that are sort of disenfranchised and unempowered? Like that's a story that has been around forever. And for me, my favorite is Seven Samurai. I've always loved the movie Seven Samurai, and I read an article where that Zack Snyder had referenced that's one of his favorite movies, which is obvious in this. He's kind of paying homage to that, but that's not even. A lot of people say that's the first version of this hero's journey kind of collaboration or team up kind of concept. But no, we've been telling this story since we were in caves. But what's your favorite version of this? Because all of those movies I kind of referenced, they're not exactly the same, but they share a lot of the theme of what Zach's trying to do with his new universe here.
My answer is always Lord of the Rings. Okay. But in this sense, though, because like this space odyssey he was trying to do, like there was Dune all through it. Like I would rather just watch the new Dune again or read Dune. Like if I want to watch the whole story, like this was just like Dollar General Dune. That's what this was. This was Dollar General Dune. That's what this was. Because you had like the houses, like one was that robot house, and like that robot was one of the cooler characters, and like it's kind of cool in the beginning, and then he runs off, and then we get shot with him wearing a
wait, why do you have antlers?
Your antler crown or some shit? Like,
really weird.
I'm like, what is Lord of the Game of Thrones? Like,
yes.
what's that? But like,
he had become a Wicked Wild fan.
Oh, that's what it was.
Wearing a logo on his head.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I didn't want to tell you guys, but Merry Christmas. I bought a advertising plot in this.
Wrong movie, Eli.
But it was this or the next season of House of the Dragon. But
I would have saved that for the House of the
Dragon. But like, it's if you look, you have the houses. Like the robots were like this living robot house that was like. They took care of the king, but now they have him in servitude. Then you have like the motherland, and then you had like these like planets, these houses, and like the farming Vikings or whatever they were. It was all about the
resources, yeah.
Right, it's all about resources, and like this was Dollar General Dune, but like more like Dollar General. That's like, well, yeah, this expired 3 months ago, but it's $1, you piece of shit. So, like that's what this was. I'd rather just go watch Dune. Even the old Dune, I would watch the original Dune. With what's his nuts?
You know what else I think this movie is? It's A Bug's Life.
Yeah, 100%. Well, Bug's Life is the Seven Samurai Magnificent Seven. It's the same kind of deal, 100%.
Kids version, right? Doesn't Flick? Isn't that don't the grasshoppers come to take like?
Yeah.
Holy shit! Okay,
yep.
That's a better one.
I haven't seen Rango in a while. Does that fit in this mold?
Rango is very much similar to exactly what's happening here. Yeah. Like I said, this is a story we keep telling.
Yeah, of course.
Because it's a great formula. I mean, but
the Rogues Gallery kind of
you gotta you have to do it good. This is good.
Well, I have a question too, though. If this was and you guys know backstory more than I do. I wasn't even in this. First of all, I'm not a Zack Snyder fan. I haven't seen like that much. It's just not so. And I'm not a sci-fi fan. So it's just like, I didn't know a lot of backstory to this. And what I'm being told was like, oh, he was supposed to make a Star Wars, dig up stories. But I have a question then. If this was supposed to be a Star Wars, it's not different than any Star Wars. Like I know a lot of Star Wars plots are very similar, but this just seems like way too basic. Like Dave is saying, this has been done a million times. Like,
yep.
Wouldn't he have just released this and we all would have said this is the same plot as another Star Wars? Like, I don't know. Like it's not even any different. I guess I'm just confused on what
you read watch any Star Wars. It's all the same now. It's Skywalker's evolved somehow. It's Jedi. It's lightsabers.
So it wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have mattered. Okay. Like, I guess, I mean, and I've seen all like the theatrical and then
they finally did a show with The Mandalorian, like a spaghetti western in space. Too, yeah. And like, I watched the first season. I'm like, this is cool. And then last season, they're like, guess what? Skywalkers. Everyone in the show is a Jedi. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Okay, cool. And they've done every Star Wars show like it since. Yeah. It's like this would have fit right in there. The only thing I can think of when he went to Disney and they're like, all right, Zack Snyder, we paid you to make this Star Wars movie. What do you got for us? He's like, hear me out. Right? it's basically the Phantom Menace in a desert, but space Vikings. Oh, okay, space Vikings. Like, are they part of the Sith? They pillage?
No,
they're farmers, right? They're farmers, space Viking farmers, right? And then like, Death Star comes, but they hover like 2 inches from the planet, right? And we're gonna have a samurai who has regular swords, but like they turn into full lightsabers. Spider Lady, and they're like, "Are you fucking high? Let's get out of here. We're fucking not making this. Get out of here."
Well, and this is a note I'd made because obviously, like I said, I've never been, and Jamie, I think you said the same thing. I've never been a Zack Snyder fan. I can appreciate his craft at visual storytelling. He makes very pretty movies, but they're not good movies. But I will say this, not knowing the guy at all, he must be just a freaking great guy, just a great person, because he seems to be able to cast whoever the heck he wants and make whatever the heck kind of movies he wants with whichever the heck kind of studio he wants to work with. So he must just be a really good dude.
That was really shocking to me. Some of like the stars in this movie. Yeah. And I'm like, well, like, I know these folks can do great work.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are they doing here? You know what I mean?
Like, well, I mean, if you look at the cat, when I put the credits together, the 3 writers for this, one being Zack Snyder. I mean, he wrote the original concept story, but he also worked on the screenplay, and I'm sure he heavy-handedly directed the screenplay. The other 2 writers on this are Kurt Johnstad and Shay Hatten. Kurt did what was it he did? Sorry, I had it up here a minute ago. But he was the writer for Atomic Blonde, one of my favorite action movies. And then you have Shay Hatten, who has written the last 3 John Wick movies. So these are people who know how to write really good movies, but somehow they can't put it together for this.
Well, honestly, I think if you look at like Snyder's history, like he made those like he was real hot coming off of like 300, then Watchmen, and then he made Sucker Punch, which like a lot of people actually didn't really like, didn't do that well. And so, but then he went into comics. And then when Marvel started making all these movies, they're getting big. DC went to Nolan and they're like, hey, we want to do what Marvel does. Like, we want you to head. And Nolan's like,
and you're the comic guy, so this should be perfect.
Well, Nolan was like, I made a fucking realistic I don't want to do any of this shit. And so like, fuck. Well, like at the time, Snyder's like all of a sudden, like writing all these banger comic series. Like he kind of revived the Justice League at the time. He wrote, like, he kind of helped create the modern, kind of status quo for Batman that was like throughout like the 2010 to like 2016 that kind of affected everything today and like brought in these like new characters and whatever. And so he's like, sure. And like, honestly, if it wasn't for Snyder, which you could say this is a good thing or a bad thing, if it was for Snyder, the DC universe probably wouldn't have went into films. Right. And then we all saw what happened. Like, you know,
they could have just
like,
stayed out of
film. It's like, you know, it wasn't great, but like, he kind of got them up and running enough to, like, then, you know, they brought James Gunn or whatever. Like, but everybody loved working with him. And like, if you even look to like, I don't even think Ben Affleck, like, who like people don't realize Ben Affleck's like a huge Batman fan. His house, like there was he did a tour once on a show. Like he had them build a replica Batcave, like his office. There's the Shakespeare from the 60s Batman, that the bookcase and all. But like I think that, like he loved Snyder, and like there were talks of him not liking what they were doing with Batman, but I think he only stuck around as long as he did because of Snyder.
Yeah, everybody who's worked with him seems to defend him, even if the movie is getting critically panned.
Right.
It seems like everybody who works on his productions defends him as a person.
Right.
Which, kudos to you, dude. I mean, you must be a great guy, I guess, is my overall point.
Well, if you even look too, like all these people, like a lot of people make fun of like Henry Cavill, like famously when they did all the reshoots for the Justice League and he couldn't shave his mustache and they had to spend like, I think it was $20 million CGIing out his mustache. But like a lot of happened was like halfway through the Justice League, or like they filmed most of the Justice League. And they were gonna film another half and halfway through, like a tragedy hit Snyder and he had to drop out of it. And like they all felt bad and they all came back and made deals with their other movies so they could do all these reshoots so they could actually finish the movie. It's like they couldn't finish the script because obviously the person they put in charge, he'd never seen a movie. If you look at the original version of the Justice League, but they all did it for Snyder, and they're all like, "Oh, we felt so bad, and we want to make sure like this movie he started, like it, whatever." Like, so I mean, obviously, the guy must be a hell of a guy. Like people like him, but like at the same time, though, I think that's a detriment because no one ever seems to want to tell him like,
yeah, nobody's telling him no.
Whoa, what are you doing here? Whereas like if you look at like I said 300 or even the original Watchmen for its faults for the most part, like if he is restrained. It's not that bad. Like I said, his comic stories can be really good. But now everybody's just like, fuck it, throw a bunch of money at him and let him do what he wants, and like then you get this dog shit. Even his like 9-hour Snyder cut of the Justice League like was not good because like they let him film 4 hours of fucking Justice League without setting up half the characters. Like he's got fucking Martian Manhunter in there who, unless you're a comic fan, you don't fucking know who that is.
Right.
Like he's doing all this shit and like the dude has no like control and like that hurts him everything he touches.
Mm-hmm.
I think everything in the DC universe was just doomed to fail though, because they tried to capture what Marvel did and they didn't do it correctly. Like Marvel's was like 10 years in the making, and they tried to cram everything into 2 or 3 years, and it just
that you could
never going to work. It was never going to work.
No, and that was a Snyder thing because in Batman versus Superman, he was like, "Oh, I'm going to set off the whole universe and make this 10-hour film of Batman fighting, and we're gonna have the Martha moment." And then this fucking movie had a Martha moment.
Say that name?
Because like when he's fighting that spider lady, she's like, "My child died too." She's like, "I see that." He's like, "I'm going to go Martha." Like you're like, what the fuck is happening? Like, but like he does that with everything, and like you watch. This came out, and if Netflix is telling the truth, this is the #1 sci-fi film on a Christmas weekend, which I would say what other sci-fi movie came out on Christmas weekend in the last 20 years? And like, two, how do you know? Because like people are still watching that fucking Godzilla -1, which is like they're like talking about Oscars, that fucking art film, and like they're talking about this, and like you watch the second one will be 9 times worse. And then if for some reason, which they're filming it now, like the third one comes out, it will be just it will be like a fucking bad acid trip of just 9 hours because it'll just keep getting longer and longer. It's crazy.
But I guess the point I was making at the top of mine is there will be a third one because at the end of the day, unfortunately, we live in this like post-industrial, postmodern, post-cinema hellscape to where we've got all these streaming platforms that they've put themselves into a position to where they release entire years worth of episodes of TV shows at a time, then people binge them in a week. So they're constantly just trying to feed this media machine of trying to get new stuff out. They no longer have access to studio stuff because the studios are doing their own thing. So I don't even know if Netflix gives a crap if these things succeed, as long as
right, because nobody's going to cancel
subscribing.
nobody's going to cancel their Netflix subscription because of this movie. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
and we actually earned him another subscription with John.
Motherfuckers! I canceled that shit as soon as I signed up.
No, they just pay upfront, like Dave said. Just like just like when they started, even when they started and they did have access, they paid Adam Sandler whatever amount of millions for one movie every 2 years or whatever it was. Doesn't matter if it fails or does.
Which I would argue is better than this. All the
I'm not saying. Listen, you and I, I like Adam Sandler, so but like,
well, isn't it that thing, right? It's like, well, I have the subscription, so I might as well watch it.
Yeah, they don't care. That's like, instead they can't give me fucking
cable.
Cheap Santa Clarita back for a fucking final season, but we got to get Zack Snyder and his 3 fucking epic 18-hour movies.
Yeah. And to their new model, which I'm still trying to figure out for myself. When Zack first signed with them, the first thing they put out was that Army of the Dead, which is right in his lane. It was a Dawn of the Dead kind of reflash.
Was that the one? Was that the one in the theaters? Was it in the theaters?
No, it was straight to Netflix.
It was there in Vegas.
That was zombies something where they were fighting the Nazis.
You're thinking of no, this was the one where they were in Vegas trying to rob a bank.
Yeah,
which he's right now writing getting ready to.
The zombies were robbing a bank.
Well, no, they were robbing a bank in the zombies in Vegas.
I feel like that'd have been a better movie.
But like he's right now, so while filming the third one of this right now, he's also in pre-production for Army of the Dead 2.
Yep.
Which they shouldn't have made. But this will be the third one in that series because they did a prequel one.
Army of the Thieves.
Right. They should have made AIM.
I didn't even know there was a.
But I mean, really, like a zombie movie. What kind of plot are you going to have?
They're not like real zombies.
But that's my point. Is he's on a calendar. He's like on a deadline of give me something in 8 months. We don't care what it is. It's a Zack Snyder.
ChatGPT, right?
Exactly.
It's kind of like say, do whatever you want. Do whatever you want and give it to us. So
as long as you give it to us for this window for us to.
I mean, isn't it our fault? I think our standards are too high.
Oh yeah,
that's what I.
Well, and that's why I had the conversation with my son of like, what did you think of this? And he was like, it was fine. It's like, is that the new standard? Like, as long as we're not offended by
stuff. Yes.
Well, it's crazy. Just think there's somebody out there that just watched this for the first time and this is their favorite movie.
This is
there's a lot of people, if you look on the internet, that this is their fucking favorite new movie.
That is the craziest thing.
Maybe a lot of them are Zack Snyder fans. And I'm not bashing. I'm just saying, like, when you love a director, you know, what his new stuff.
But like, wrong,
I was actually shocked when I went looking for like jokes about that, how many people thought this was such a great weekend movie, like how much people loved this movie this weekend.
I think it goes back to my argument, like, because even regardless of what we had he did a space epic where there wasn't a fucking Rancor and there weren't Jedi Knights. I mean, there was dollar store lightsabers, but like it was a space movie, like. And like it was more action packed than initially the first Doom because that's a slower build, right? But like he brought in like these, and like he blatantly stole it, but like he brought in like creatures you don't really see very often, and if I was like a high school kid, I'd probably be like, oh man, like whoa, like that's look at this. I'm not looking at fucking Luke Skywalker for the 79th time in space, or watching Jason Momoa run across the Stardies field going. Whoever the fuck he yells in every movie, like it's so that's what's weird about Snyder is he does these little like gold nuggets, like he gets people like that's how he's got his fanboys. Even like the comics, he's like some people didn't like his stories, but he would do this little shits, these little things, and people were like, holy shit! Like I mean, I got onto it sometimes, like whoa. So like yeah, I can see it. Like when was the last time you saw a giant spider person doing kung fu?
Yep.
I don't know. That's the thing. Like this movie wasn't unwatchable.
Right.
This wasn't great. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, no, but like if you're like a high school kid, if you look at like the 19th Star Wars movie, like I mean, if you look at all the space movies that's been out, right? 20 of them has been Star Wars films. One's been watching George Clooney float around in space for 19 hours. And then you had The Martian, and then you had that Ad Asterios, which made no fucking sense. But then you got this one that has like fucking Space Barbarian, who's always got rock hard abs and like fucking space samurai and like they're fucking flying griffins and fighting fucking spider people and like there's like fucking space Hitler and like whoa.
Beetlejuice chairs.
Beetlejuice chairs, and like, but for some reason
they were
still have to use
exactly the
old
chairs.
cow like killers to fucking break their neck or something, which didn't make really sense. But whatever, like the chair couldn't do it. I don't.
Yeah, why would they?
They use a hand.
They have robots and spaceships, and they're using a nail.
That's correct. It made no sense. But like, if I was in high school, like, I bet you this is fucking. It's like, whoa, like I'm not seeing fucking Yoda for the 100th time. Like this is different. Like I can see the appeal for this for like the younger generation, which goes back to James' point that, or Dave, whoever, movies are so bad that anytime they do something a little fucking different, we're like, whoa, look at this.
But I thought we all agree that this is not different. It's just everything else repackaged, slightly repackaged.
But
it's not even repackaged, really.
But it's
like
not the same Star Wars. Like even though he just like put new skins on
you're saying
them,
it's just not literally. I'm not literally seeing
Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
It's not Luke Skywalker. He wasn't in that chair and like had his robot hand that could, but his whole lightsaber was like, in his hand, and like he's having sex with like that blue milk thing that he was creepy about. Like
I was waiting for blue milk, but I was even, again, as someone who's annoyed that I am still seeing lightsabers. Like it's not a Star Wars movie, and I'm still seeing Star Wars shit. Like I don't know. Like,
well, and to the point that you're making, Eli, that's the thing that blows my mind when I put on my empathy helmet and I look at people like my son who, other than looking back, and for him, he cannot get to where I am with a series like Star Wars. Like I saw those in the theater. I grew up with those. They were a cultural phenomenon. They were what we had. They were our stories. My son can't get to that. So when he thinks of Star Wars, he thinks of these Disney-made Star Wars movies. Mm-hmm. That is his point of entry for that universe. And then he sees this. This is superior.
Yeah.
In his brain, this is better than Star Wars. And that guts me. But that's where that generation will be. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Dave, there's a guy at work who says he will not watch the Willow movie because of how bad the Willow TV show was. I'm like, no. I'm like,
please.
The fucking Willow TV show was awesome. Like, you have to watch. He's like, no, that show was so bad. I'm like, fucking ignore the show. That was shit. Watch the movie, man.
Think about this, Eli. There, how many people are turned off of the Lord of the Rings because the Rings of Power?
Oh, I know. I don't. It keeps me up at night. It keeps me up at night. But if you look like, I go on soapboxes. I mean, everybody that listens to this knows. Like at least every episode, I'm on my soapbox. But like, if you look, like that's why I get so upset when something original comes, like fucking Antlers, and they fuck it up because like they're giving us something different that could like just be good for somebody. Like you could like show kids like, no, like this is what, like when I was a kid, like fucking Critters or fucking like, you know what I mean? Like, but like they don't get any of that. Like everything's just this like high processed fucking Little Debbie bullshit. And it's like fucking like, what is, and this will be a number, like you watch, this will be, they will do, like, I'm telling you now, I'm calling it. You're watching the nexus point of this is like the next Space Verse. There's going to be offshoots of this and spin-offs and like this is going to drag people in. And then the fucked up thing is if Henry Cavill can make their, how we say it's fucking Henry Cavill can make this Warhammer show good, they'll be like, well, Warhammer copied this because Snyder managed to process this bullshit faster. And like, that's the sad fact. Like this right here, like you watch, this will be the series for like kids now. And like, it's not even a good one.
But this is what success looks like now.
Correct.
Which is crazy.
Mediocre.
Yeah. Well, and maybe that's just us having a get off my lawn experience with
yeah.
but at the same time, and that's why I kind of referenced before, I want it on the record that this is not a new story. It's an important story to humanity. It's one we've been telling since we've been telling stories, but just know that this is important for some reason. I can't really articulate why, as far as this Jason and the Argonauts or Yojimbo whoever originally did it. What I'm not getting into that fight, but this is an important story. But it's so rote at this point. There's been so many different versions of it that it's hard to get into this plot sphere and not reference all the other stuff that's happening. Like as soon as I saw Charlie Hunnam, I saw Han Solo. Okay. So, and then I have to actively mentally keep myself from putting Han Solo expectations on Charlie Hunnam.
See, I was thinking that farmer guy was more Han Solo because Charlie Hunnam was just
wearing the vest.
Right. Like that farmer guy to me was the Han Solo character because he's like kind of doesn't want to be involved, but he wants to make money. And like, you know what I mean? Charlie Hunnam was an idiot in this movie, just like he is in every movie he's ever made.
He was a space pirate, just like
he's
Han
the
Solo.
worst. He's the worst person on the planet for a movie star, like just being in movie. He's the worst.
Wow.
But yeah. But I think to your point about like the story, isn't it kind of just like triumphing, Jesus Christ, I can't even talk. Triumphing over adversity, right? Isn't that the core of the value?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
It's a group of people that can't defend themselves.
Perseverance through over adversity or whatever.
I think we need a little break from these movies, though.
Well, if you're gonna tell them fucking good. Like tell them do something different. Like
to your question earlier, I think 47 Ronin is probably my favorite movie that would address kind of that situation.
Same kind of deal. Yeah, for sure.
Just like do something different. That's all.
Yeah.
Do a different lens.
And I really do think there are two paths you can do it because when you're doing a collaborative, like you're assembling a team over a story plot, you can do one of two things. You can do what Seven Samurai did, which is my preference, which is don't bore me with a bunch of backstory about each of the samurai, just as they assemble and become part of this team, how they interact with the rest of the team and how they interact with the world around them tells me really all I need to know about each of them.
Yeah.
That's a really clean way to do it. Or you can do the Avengers path where you do a movie for each one and let them kind of through the
that was what was really weird. I think that's what was jarring about these character introductions. Like they literally could have just had them do things to introduce themselves. Like instead of just being like literally finding each one and being like, "Hey guy, come on board." Like that lady with the lightsabers could have just fought at another time instead of when they just met her and you'd have been like, "Oh, that lady got awesome swords."
She's
like
bad.
at the end, like you know, like if they would have just pulled her in and she was captured, then at the end she killed some people. I'd be like, "Oh, that's cool. She got these weird light swords." Instead, she's like, got to give this weird tragic backstory to a spider lady.
Exactly. You don't have to tell me all the backstory of who Chewbacca is and where he comes from. All I need to know about Chewbacca is that when he plays chess, he may tear your arm off and beat you to death with it.
Yeah, like
that's all I need to know.
It's really weird. They like it's like he just I don't know, like he didn't understand or doesn't understand how to do. It's basic character development. I think the problem was he hit you in the face with it, and it wasn't enough to care about, you know what I mean? Because they're like, "Oh, some stuff." Okay, well then you just have more questions, but they never get. Oh, some stuff happens. Like, oh, I'm a person that does things. What do you think?
He rides a griffin. He must be important.
I didn't think about that. Like, I was like, this guy's Harry Potter. That's what I was thinking.
You could tell too, like with these characters, because like technically, right, they were characters. Original characters, like new characters, even though they were just like whatever. But like the things he chose to try to make them interesting half the time didn't make sense. Like, why did like the space Hitler guy that he was fighting? Why was his main weapon a shillelagh? Fucking people have laser guns and laser swords.
Yeah, he just hit people with a stick. And why did he have those weird tentacle thing? Why was he having sex with that
I don't know.
Have a little
pervert. It's like
who knows? And then you had that general, right? His whole thing was like he was crying while getting bathed, but then when he stood up, do you notice he was still covered in dust, like heavily?
Yep.
Like it's like, what was she washing him with? Air? Like it's like there was water coming out there. He shook water off, but he was still like, it's like, what the fuck was? And what was the point of that? Like that whole like little speech, and he's crying. It don't make sense. Like, and I'm supposed to make like, we've talked a whole beginning. He's the most feared general, but then there's no development about like why he like. They're just kind of like, I got people killed, and now I'm dirty and sad. It's like, all right.
All I can say is Djimon Hounsou does not age.
No.
Like he's been that same age for like 40 years now.
Oh, it's crazy. But like,
I don't know who that is.
Oh my god, he's been in every
General
movie.
Titus.
Yep, every movie that's been made in the last
Guardians
20 years. He's
that
been
guy.
in it.
Yeah,
Yep.
the Guardians.
But he like the way they were talking about, I was like, oh, he's gonna have like robot arms or like a fucking gun in his chest or like something. Like he's walking around a dreadnought. I don't know anything. But then it's like
real weird. Yeah.
He's just like a crybaby.
He's
like he didn't really do anything.
Dirty crybaby. Like,
yeah, like he didn't really do anything.
And then like he's like, I don't want to go. And then they're like, you got to go. And he's like, okay, I'll go. That was literally
I guess I'm going.
That was how they got everybody. Like they go in, they go like, we need you to go with us. And they're like, no, we can't. And they're like, you have to. And like, okay. It's like, all right.
Okay.
Like, convince me. Well, that's the problem when you have to jam an entire universe or try. Yeah. If you think you have to convince people that this is all important, none of it's important. I guess that's kind of like, and honestly, like, right. It would have been better if they were just like, okay, here's General, who's a what's it, and they show up and she's like, hey, he's this massive dude, but
we need to save this, like, blah blah blah, because of the resistance, and he's like, okay, but he has this storied past that you learn along the way. Right. You don't need to be like, hey, guy that killed everybody, let me explain this like it's on Sesame Street. I know you're going to say you don't want to come, but you got to come, so I'm just going to skip that part. Like,
well, it's crazy.
Exactly.
Like, you're doing 3 movies. Just divide up the character introductions of the first 2.
Well, like I said, you could.
It didn't matter. They were all there at the end.
You can introduce them all in one and then build them up later. Like that would have been, there's multiple ways you could have done it better, but anyhow.
So Snyder, call us. At the end of the day,
he'll help you out.
I've got no ideas for Zack.
I do. Go back to write comic books. Just
Batman versus Superman.
Don't make movies no more. Go back to writing comic books. That's where you shine.
I'm still waiting for Justice League 2.
So oh my God! Please
shut your mouth. You should. If James Gunn, if you're listening, because I know you are.
Oh yeah.
If you let him fucking touch, because I still am on the fence about what you're gonna do with it. But if you let him touch it, then you're a fool.
All I know is there's going to be a bunch of crammed in music. That's what I know about James.
I want to just mention my favorite part of the movie, which was, and I don't even remember. Oh no, I do actually remember. Of all things, I remember the robot's name was Jimmy. Jimmy in the little flower crown when he's in. That's all. That's it.
Like I said, that's the only character my son.
That he left. And you know what? What's funny is watching this with alcohol in my system, I made the announcement how even in Star Wars, it's no surprise that the droids have always been my favorite because I'm a child. And R2-D2 is my favorite. And then BB-8 was my favorite. And then,
because they had no noses.
Jimmy. And then, it is. And then Alan Tudyk, whatever his droid was my favorite. And then this one, I did not think Anthony Hopkins' voice lends well to a robot. I don't know. There was something about it that just bothered me.
I'll be honest. I thought this was the best developed character, and he was on screen for 3 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Except for like the last minute, and I'm like, why the fuck does he just walk around now with?
Right. You know why? Because they're like, oh, these droids haven't blah 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 done whatever since the king died, and then he had to kill somebody, and you're like, oh, that's really causing a conflict within him. It was like, oh wow, that was an actual good development, and then everybody else was like, no.
I was like, oh, that robot's gonna go with him. Nope. He's looking for deer antlers.
Yeah. Where does he even come from?
And he had a shillelagh too. Like, why did fucking everyone in this movie have a shillelagh?
Because it's all phallic. That's
yes.
Some of the haircuts were phallic. Some of there was a lot of like.
And Year of the Wiener's over, so knock it off, Snyder.
So is this
what he should have done was made this R to at least get me invested.
I agree completely.
It's weird there wasn't any blood or anything.
I'm not pulling the PG-13, but I'm not even pulling that. I'm just saying this movie, if you want to be a little different from Star Wars or any of the, you should have gone
lean into it.
R sci-fi because we don't get, we do get some, but like an R sci-fi can bring in all like I don't know a little bit
especially
more.
because it's already on Netflix. Like know
exactly. Who gives
like you
a
have
shit?
To worry about a theater release.
Nope. Who gives a fuck? Yeah.
Well, he even said when Disney to pass on this, he's like, you know what, it's such a good story. I'm gonna make it. He goes, but what's nice now is I can turn into my own story and I can make this darker and like we can make this real gritty and dark and like it wasn't. And like it really wasn't.
No, that's the disappointment I had. And just for transparency to our audience, that's one of the reasons we discussed reviewing this on this podcast, because obviously we're generally a horror podcast. This is not a horror movie, but what we had heard before this movie came out was that it was a more hardcore, like heavy metal magazine kind of space opera where it was ultra violent and all that. But
no,
that was all marketing.
That would have been cool. And that's why I said there was the quote that someone said, look, Jamie, blood. Because like, look, blood. Because like there was like one scene where there was like blood on the floor. But like this, all these scenes we're talking about, like with Jenna Malone and her spider lady and the lightsabers, even maybe I would have been so distracted by lightsabers if you gave me lightsabers now causing chaos and fucking carnage. Yeah. Because then I would be like, okay, it's a lightsaber, but look how cool they are with these like lightsabers.
Yeah. Yeah. We've never gotten to see a Jedi literally dismantle somebody with a lightsaber.
Yeah. That would have been really cool. That would have been really cool.
Yeah.
Because like I mean, like it was like I thought we were gonna see more of that, even that spicy. Because like when she like lights them into her and fucking like cross her chest and she's like hacked off legs and shit. I'm like, you watch. I'm like, when they get to like the big fight at the end, because there's always a big fight at the end. I'm like, heads are gonna fucking roll. Like this is gonna be cool. And then nope, it's just regular sword stuff, regular lightsaber stuff.
Yeah.
And then I watched a guy who I'm supposed to believe is a resistance leader who has like a minute of screen time and like somehow manages to stop their dreadnought with a stick.
Which is ironic because like they're literally like, we only have so many men. There's no way we can stop this giant ship. And then he just stabs one guy and
like it's just like,
wait a minute.
Even
and then like they play music. Oh no, sorry. Real quick though, they played music in slow motion. Like this was the most tragic death I've seen a film in 20 years.
The guy.
I've known him for 30 seconds. He missed the guy, stabs the guy, and then dies up. I'm like, I don't know who the fuck that guy is. I don't care. Why I give a fuck? He hasn't done anything.
I am going back to Carnage for one more second, just because I had noticed it first, again, because kind of early movies, like the first time we see her be like complete badass. Now, I also want to say again, we mentioned how perverty and weird this movie is, but like they're about to rape a young girl. So we got raped. That is not something that's treated like, you know what I mean? But you can't give me this girl coming in now and lopping off heads and blood everywhere. Like they're literally about to rape a young girl. She's going to come in and save to what degree she can.
It's a weird
She's going to be a badass, right? But there's no blood. She's just shooting them and doing whatever. And
she had an axe.
Yeah. And everybody's just falling over. And I'm like, what am I watching right now? I'm so confused. Like, you're not risking, you know what I mean? With like implied rape or the assault in the bar or whatever else, but you can't show me fucking gore. Like, where are we in this time? Like, what is going on?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's a great point, especially in that scene. Is you're right. You've set up to that point of you want me to give you full permission to do whatever the heck you want with these characters.
Yeah.
And through their behavior, I'm fully on board with you doing some just destroying them, and then you give me a kung fu theater scene. Nothing against kung fu theater, I love it.
No, but that could have been
you've
so
asked
badass,
to do some really heinous stuff because she's supposed to be the most brutal warrior in history, and it becomes a very choreographed.
That whole scene was reminding me of what's it called that we watched? I guess Prey was it, right? Because like she comes in like a badass at times, and it was just reminding me like the choreography, whatever. And I was just thinking how much better that felt when she comes in.
Yeah, it was much more satisfying because when she came in full primal, feral creature.
Well, like even if you look, right, like when she fights that guy at the end, who presumably is a clone of her adopted father, or whatever.
Wow, I missed any of this
stuff.
Oh
yeah, that's the same actor. It's the same actor, just with a beard. And like he's done all this stuff and he wants to like they're fighting and like she's like they're giving the person that she's like Superman punching him, and like you see force rain. I felt like I was watching that scene in The Matrix 3 when Mr. Agent Smith and Neo were fighting, and then like they cut to him, and it looks like someone smeared a little strawberry jelly on his cheek. And then like they do this thing where like she hits him in the mouth with his shillelagh, and like you watch teeth come out, and then when they find him on the rock, all of his teeth, a little bit of jelly on his cheek, and you're like, was she hitting him with marshmallow? Was like that a marshmallow stick? Like what's going on there?
Yeah, how does she give people scars? Yeah. Never leaving like
they don't even explain it. I don't even know. Like they don't explain it. They're like the whole second half of the movie they call her scar giver. Never like that's not even a setup. It's not explaining. She doesn't have scars. I thought at the end when we saw her adopted dad Thanos that he would have a scar. He didn't have a scar. No one had a scar. No one.
I do appreciate his Darth Vader scream at the end of the movie, though.
Yeah.
I appreciated that.
Yep.
All I know, I can sum this movie up in one scene. She runs up and hits the bell, but there's a giant fucking spaceship that you can see from the entire planet. Like
the bell doesn't make any noise. It was like canister. I got so annoyed. It was like a rubber mallet of the lightest material, and she's banging this bell and it's making like a dull
it's
sound.
like you can see the fucking spaceship. I'm like, what are you like?
Listen, it's a moon.
She ran like 10 feet. It wasn't like she ran halfway across. She ran like up the hill, hit the bell, and like everybody's like
she was grunting louder than the bell was ringing.
Yeah.
It was like a little wooden hammer. Like it's not like
it was nothing. It was rubber. It was like back to your marshmallows. Everything was a marshmallow.
Listen, everyone knows space Vikings are notoriously weak when it comes to hitting bells.
I guess
Everybody knows this. Odin cursed them.
About that bell.
Or Space Odin. They call him Odin. Everybody knows. Spoden.
Okay, well, we have completed an hour and a half on this movie. I don't know that it needs much more than that.
No.
Did it need the 2 hour 15 runtime? No.
Fuck no.
But I do have a Dave's Critter Corner for Rebel Moon.
Is it
Lots
Spider
of things
People
to select from? I did consider the Jenna Malone just for the Jenna Maloneness of it all. But my favorite character was the Griffin. I thought that was a fun scene, and it got to destroy the slaver, which I thought was fun. So I did choose, and it does have a name. It is Beatrice the Bennis, is what its official name is in the credits, even though it's a digital character. It's a Griffin-like character ridden by Tarek, who is the shirtless prince. Tarek, native to the planet they both share, Samandrai. It is known to be either black or white in coloring. Apparently, in one of the future ones, we'll see a flashback of Tarek riding a white Griffin. Or Bennis, I guess. Bennis is what they call him in this universe. But before you adopt a Bennis, got a few little pieces of advice for you. First and foremost, they are not real.
What?
Secondly, they are apparently intolerant of slaveholding douchebags.
No way.
Number 3, they need a lot of open area to be happy. Need to have open yards for them to really thrive in. Number 4, they demand, to the point Jeff just made, they do demand the respect of the people around them. You got to be respectful to them. And then finally, again, they are not real.
So I can't fit one in my apartment.
I do appreciate, because the only lore that has ever done this, that you have to bow to a griffin, was Harry Potter, which they called hippogriffs, not griffins.
Yeah,
but that was the only.
It's different.
Well, a hippogriff is
it's a hybrid one. It's like a hybrid.
A hippogriff is a hypocritical griffin.
But it's basically right. But did you notice that you could tell he must have watched the third Harry Potter film while writing the script, because he did the you have to bow,
of course,
before you can ride it, which has never been done anywhere but Harry Potter. And I thought that was interesting.
Again, another thing that he just.
We're just gonna rip everything from everything and throw it in this crazy casserole of a movie.
I like the part where the Griffin attacked Malfoy in this movie.
Honestly, that scene did lead me to one of my.
Hagrid. Slytherin looked like Hagrid. He had the same beard and everything. He was short Hagrid, and they were in a pen. Like, wait, that was like Hagrid's cabin.
We lost Eli.
Eli, we can't hear a word you're saying.
Listen, that guy looked like Listen, that guy looked like Hagrid. They were in Hagrid's pen. Literally, the only thing was missing was Dumbledore and a pumpkin. And that would have been the third Harry Potter movie.
I don't remember Hagrid being a slave owner, but okay.
Well, I mean, each movie's different.
But I was going to say that scene did set me up to, I was almost going to be really angry and hate Tarek, because after he, quote unquote, breaks Beatrice and gets off of it, he just goes to the slaver and says, "Be good."
Yeah,
I'm like, what the hell?
He's just like, "Here's this griffin."
Yeah.
But then luckily Beatrice took matters into her own hand.
Why wouldn't he just fly off?
Exactly. Why do I?
What I thought was fucked up is he gets to the ship, he hears an attack, and that's not its home planet.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, it's gonna come with us," and I'm gonna have he's gonna be one of our partners. He's cooler than half the other fuckers here. He's gonna cry like that general guy. But then he's just fucking left it there. Just left it there. He's like, fuck it. And kill. I don't know. What you want me to do? I don't have a shirt. What do you want me to do?
I don't have a shirt. What am I going to do with a griffin?
Yeah, I don't have a shirt. What do you want me to do?
So, Eli, what are we going to be following up Rebel Moon with on? Because it could be anything. I'm genuinely curious.
Listen,
what are you following up on Campfire?
I know a lot of people that watch this. I think they're going to be disappointed. They realize there's not really any aliens in this. It's like Uruk-hais, griffins, shirtless people.
Devourers,
samurai,
Greek arachnes, like all this stuff, right? So I was like, oh, we should do an alien. But then I was thinking, with all the stuff going on with aliens and everything, I think we need to do a follow-up to a previous episode. And instead of doing Bigfoot theories, we're going to do the top 10 emerging alien theories.
Yes. Well, that's fun.
Okay.
Now, just Jeff, be careful with your descriptions.
I will. And to Jeff, I think you're gonna be disappointed because when I was looking at these, there's not a lot of 84-foot tall aliens with backhoes.
I mean, we'll see.
So,
fake news. Yeah.
So
I might do some research of my own.
what? Spilling out your kid's spaghettios, see what works it makes.
Well, you have that to look forward to next week. We do hope you have a great 2024. All joking aside, we did want to thank you all for listening. We're all primed and prepped for another year of nonsense here on the Wicked Wild. We hope you are as well. If you did enjoy the show, we do ask that you subscribe. That always helps us out. Rate the show. Give us a comment in your review. We'd love to hear from you. Visit our website, thewickedwild.com, if you want to learn more about each of the hosts on the show, or if you want to read any of our book reviews or movie reviews, go to our shop. We've got some new merchandise. We officially have our Sheila shirt design available in the Wicked Wild shop, so you can go check that out. And then there's a lot of other fun stuff on there as well. You can follow us on social media. We're on Twitter /X at Wicked Wild We Are, Slasher, the horror only community, at Wicked Wild We Are. We're on Instagram at Wicked Wild Pod, and then we are releasing each of our reviews and Campfire Tales on YouTube if you want to see our beautiful shining faces while we talk about all of the fun stuff that's going on in the world and in film. You can just search us on YouTube, The Wicked Wild Podcast. If you have any questions, thoughts, feedback, any recommendations for season 3, which will start here in a few weeks for the Wicked Wild podcast, then you can send me an email, podcast, podcast, at thewickedwild.com. And that's all I've got tonight. Anybody else have anything you want to promote? Anything people need to know about what's going on in your lives?
Look to the sky, people. Just look to the sky.
Look to the sky.
Oh, Lord.
Or the holes forming in the Arctic, because that's disturbing.
The fart holes are going to get you.
Or the fact that whales are talking to people now, that doesn't seem very good either.
I don't think Eli has slept in months. That's all I'll say.
Not since you had me start doing this. No.
So thanks for listening. As we always say, our recommendation to you is to get out there and get yourself lost, because it may be the only place you can find yourself. Have a good night.